Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today we have some interesting new information about the next coming updates to Grand Theft Auto Online, as well as what we can expect for the rest of this year, and just some other information about GTA Online. Now this interview comes from Joe Donnelly on behalf of Games Radar, and he is interviewing two of the designers almost 10 years after the game has been released. Now the first interesting thing that I noticed here is they mentioned the Drug Wars update, which came out back in December, and it is confirmed to be a two-part update. Now there was some speculation that the Drug Wars Part 1 and Part 2 were going to be separate updates, or that Part 2 was going to be the drip feed that was going to come out alongside the Drug Wars update, except obviously not alongside, just after, because it's drip feed. But we do get an acknowledgement that Part 2 is the next DLC that is going to be released. I just want to point out here too, it says the GTA Online Drug Wars update takes us back to basics with a dizzy Hotline Miami feel. So I think that's kind of interesting that they mentioned Miami, because that is the speculated location for GTA 6. And it says that's how I felt after playing Part 1 of the game's latest two-part update that launched in December. So we have it confirmed that the Drug Wars DLC is a two-part DLC. So fingers crossed that Part 2 of the DLC is a lot better than Part 1 of the DLC, because Part 1 was, well, just a little bit underwhelming. Next up, Butchart, who's one of the designers that they are interviewing here, says the feedback from the game's passionate community is central to the design team's decision making when introducing new features, while GTA Online in 2023 flies as close to the understood live service model than it ever has. Maintaining accessibility to all players, solo and in teams across the board, has been a constant since launch. So they've confirmed that they are taking in what the community is saying a little bit more often here. They've claimed to have been doing it, the whole time, but I think it's really been more of a recent thing. We saw that with the Criminal Enterprises DLC when they actually took the Oppressor and nerfed it, and when they made invite-only session selling and everything like that into a thing for the first time ever. So that was a great thing, but it seems like they're starting to listen to the community a little bit more often, and they're going to touch on this in just a minute as well. They say, certainly we want to make sure GTA Online updates are free and accessible to everyone so that our entire community can experience it together, and that still stands today. They then mentioned that they started to really hit their stride when they began designing heists to be playable with just one or two players, and then building on the original experience with social spaces like the nightclubs or the casino, spaces that could act as a connective tissue for players jumping from experience to experience, either as a crew or solo. Then it says right at the bottom here, Bell reckons no 2 days are the same behind the scenes, and with every update he and his team get the chance to listen to what players want to see moving forward. So that is good that they are trying to listen to players and implement features that we would all like to see. On the next slide here, it says every update we add gives us a chance to receive player feedback that can help us with new ideas, such as giving our gearheads a world of Los Santos tuners and a space to house their cherished rides with the new 50-car garage on Eclipse Boulevard that was just added, obviously, as well as tweak existing content to improve the overall experience, such as cycling out modes on a regular basis. Part of the decision process when coming up with new updates is how they can complement other areas of the game, as well as offering something new to engage with. Taking the Criminal Enterprises DLC as an example, last year we wanted to expand a number of businesses that have been in the game for years and breathe new life into them, while at the same time provide a strong set of classic missions like Operation Paper Trail for those that like to take on story missions instead of the more business side of things. So that is good that they want to revive old businesses like the MC businesses and stuff like that. Let's hope they keep doing that. We've had the idea of community-based objectives for a while. It's something we wanted to present as a design choice rather than as an externally pushed event, so it felt native to the world and the player experience. So that is kind of cool. Obviously there are some community events like the Sprunk versus E. Cola thing, which we will also touch on here in just a second. He also says that so many changes start out as suggestions from the community and evolve through the lens of the team's own hopes for the game and where it might go next. The Criminal Career Builder was introduced with the launch of GTA 5 on PS5 and Xbox Series X and S last year to make it a little bit easier for players to get acquainted with GTA and get involved in Grand Theft Auto Online. The community's contribution to the overall design of the game has only increased over time. Our vision remains, but it's in a beautiful partnership with the community. We still have our plans, but they're less hard-locked than they once were to allow for this external input. We are always working to balance things in a way that makes sense for every player and playstyle, style so that there's always something for everyone to have fun doing. We identify and consider so much player feedback, and we are always looking at ways to implement community requests as we continue to create new updates. Sometimes, however, what feels like the simplest fixes can be the most challenging to implement, so it might take some time for the community's desired changes to make their way into the game. Hopefully, recent improvements to the game have shown that we are working to address the community's requests as we move from update to update. And I do think that Rockstar is trying pretty hard to appease us and also do what we want them to do. But I can imagine that changing code that was written, pre-2013, before the game even released, is probably pretty hard to do all the way in 2023. I mean, obviously, if you think about computers even in 2010 versus computers in 2023, it's like graphics cards were like, pretty much barely a thing at that point, and like gaming PCs were barely a thing. And that's just one angle of it, but writing code and everything, I'm sure, has evolved over time. I'm sure there's ways of doing it now that are way different, and that if they mess with something, for example, adding the phone contact select thing, I'm sure that caused 200 other problems that they had to solve, because they would have to make it so that, okay, you've removed Lester from your phone contacts. Well, now how do we make Lester not call you for the heist anymore? And how do we make it so that you can re-add him and then, be able to do off the radar and, stuff like that, for example. So I can imagine it is actually a lot harder than it might appear to some of us in the community. As much as we would like them to change these things, I do understand why it does take them some time to implement them. Next up, with the game so open-ended in structure as Grand Theft Auto Online, players taking features and running with them independent of official updates as always possible. This was best illustrated by the green versus purple alien gang wars of 2020, whereby servers were inadvertently dominated by players wearing Martian bodysuits and swearing allegiance to either side. This craze even transcended GTA Online itself, with social media users flooding the likes of TikTok and Instagram Reels with green versus purple content, a format that Rockstar formalized in an official capacity last year with Sprunk versus Ecola rivalry. We need to bring the gang war back. Honestly, that was a great time to play GTA. I would love to bring that back. And it is cool that Rockstar did recognize that. That does show that they have some sort of grasp of the community if they're seeing it on TikTok and Instagram and everything like that, and then they're willing to talk about it too, which I think is cool. It is good to know that they do actually see some of the stuff that is mentioned. Next up, Butchart says that random events like these are incredibly exciting, especially when it requires the team to change up the vibe to better suit the innovative measures players come up with on the fly. Bell agrees, says riffing off these circumstantial developments can influence how official decisions are made too, such as the Los Santos Tuners update that formalized the safe spaces in-game car enthusiasts had already informally created amongst themselves. It also says we take inspiration from comments on forums or videos and screenshots players have taken of the things they've done in game. There's a fun example of this that's coming for this year's Halloween event that makes me laugh every time. I can't wait to see how players react to it. So we have a confirmation that the Halloween update is going to be something interesting this year, something a little bit of a change. So that is pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens at Halloween. He also mentions that the community heist challenge that happened last year, where players successfully stole a collective $100 billion of in-game money over a 7-day period. Then he also mentions naturally occurring community-led events like Green vs. Purple really solidified how important these could be, and that they were something we should be looking at more. The idea of everyone coming together and pulling in the same direction to complete a shared goal is pretty great, and it's something that they will continue to do in the future, maybe more often. And next up, right at the bottom here, they say, so what's next for GTA Online? Part 2 of its Drug Wars update is imminent, with Rockstar more keen than ever to continue pushing the community-facing content players have enjoyed more recently, with players equally eager to hear something concrete about GTA 6, beyond the fact that it's currently in development. How GTA Online evolves alongside the next step in the mainline series remains to be seen. Rockstar, as you might expect, is keeping its cards close to its chest on that one, but besides the Halloween content hinted at above, Butchart looks forward to what lies ahead in the immediate future. He says it's super important to us that players find new ways to connect with each other, whether through events or by us providing the tools to them to create their own moments. We've got a bunch of ideas in the works right now, all the way up until the holidays at the end of the year, so please stay tuned. So basically we've got confirmation that until the holidays this year, we are going to be getting updates. We've got the Drug Wars Part 2 to look forward to. Something is going to be happening at Halloween as well. And then of course we are going to get our winter update for this year. So GTA Online in 2023 is safe as far as updates go, all the way past the 10-year anniversary of Grand Theft Auto Online and GTA 5 coming out. So we do have DLCs scheduled. There is going to be new content in the game throughout the year. So thank goodness. Thank you, Rockstar. And very glad that they did this interview just to give the community some kind of scope of what is going to be going on for the remainder of this year. Anyway, guys, that is pretty much all I have for you. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, dislike if you didn't, of course. Let me know what you think of this in the comments down below. What would you like to see in the next DLC? What cars, what themes, things like that? Let me know in the comments down below. Hey, maybe if Rockstar sees this video, they'll even look and see your suggestions. So subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, take care. Peace.